Hello, and welcome to this week's installment in my series on attachment. Today I'm going to talk about how to recognize when a block is happening in your relationship. Sometimes these blocks to vulnerability can be hard to see, but there are some easy ways to know when one is happening. To review just for a moment, what is a block and why is it important to recognize it? If you've been following the series, you already know that according to research on attachment, secure connection is wired in. We are born ready to connect and attach securely to others. But sometimes we end up getting hurt repeatedly, so the natural thing to do is to put up barriers between ourselves and others so we don't get so hurt. This can be important and safe to do, but sometimes, unfortunately, those barriers can stay even when it is safe to put them down. And when we can't ever put the barriers down, this leaves us alone with whatever we're experiencing, which really hurts. And if we stay alone behind those barriers long enough, another thing starts to happen. We put up barriers between our own conscious awareness and the place in ourselves that is alone and hurting. Sort of like if you have chronic pain physically that there's no solution for. Eventually, in order to be able to function, you have to distance yourself from that pain. Medications, meditation, avoiding things that exacerbates that physical pain. We do that for physical pain, and we do it for emotional pain too. So after a while, emotionally, we sort of forget that that alone place is there. The barriers get more set in, firm. We go numb to that place. It's coping, but not a great way to be for a long time, because when you lock away those feelings, other ones get locked away too. I like to imagine this like a castle. Deep within the castle, behind many doors and walls, are the hurt and lonely places. The rest of the castle functions normally, sometimes forgetting that those deep places are there. But sometimes somebody gets too close to those deep places. There you have the guards set in front of the door so nobody gets through. The guards might send off warning shots telling the person to get away, or they might lock everything down so the person is sent into confusion and darkness. Or they might suddenly lead the person away. You don't want to go in there. Come over here. If you're saying to yourself, well, that makes sense, but what's the big deal with having locked away parts? Don't we all have them? Well, here's the thing. Eventually, when you get close to someone, at some point, that person will get close to those places, and they will catch on that there's something there. There are places in your castle that aren't 100% accessible, and they won't have any idea what that's about. That person will also be surprised and confused by your sudden reaction by the guards. Then their own defenses will start to show. You'll both feel disconnected from each other, hurt, frustrated. So if you want to have a close, intimate relationship, it's important to know where your hurt places are, what defenses you're using to protect yourself, and eventually be able to share those with your partner. By now, you might already have a sense of how you might recognize those blocks to connection. The easiest way to notice is when your guards start working. Consider these questions. Think about the times when you're suddenly hit with frustration or anxiety. Somebody says something and you instantly have that feeling rising up within you. There's a sign. Think about the times where you suddenly go numb or check out or go cold, especially if someone has told you you were doing that. That's another sign. And think about the times where you've lost your train of thought and suddenly moved on to another subject. This could be your defenses throwing you a distraction because you got close to something. It might take a bit of active noticing before you can start to recognize these things happening in the moment. Usually it's easier to recognize it after the fact. But spend some time thinking about it, and that will get you a lot closer to recognizing those blocks. Once you can recognize those blocks, you are much closer to being able to open yourself back up and reach for safety and connection with the person you love. Instead of being alone with your hurt and in a constant state of coping, you'll be able to have the intimacy and the closeness that you need and deserve. Next week, I'll talk more about what to do when you recognize a block. Make sure to follow me so you can get notifications when that post goes live. You can follow me at The Cherished Marriage on Instagram or Facebook, or sign up for my free 7-day communication course and get updates sent right to your inbox. Find the link at thecherishedmarriage.com. I'll see you then.